Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Heard That. Zach Barnes here for the WT Sports Network. This week was a fairly bittersweet one as some seasons came to an end where others kicked theirs off. WT men's and women's basketball both kicked off their seasons this last weekend with a trip to California. The men's side went a perfect 3-0 on the weekend with wins over Azusa Pacific, St. Cloud, and the 23rd ranked Arkansas Fort Smith. On the other side, the Lady Buffs ended up with a 2-1 record coming out of the weekend. They started off with a win of University of Mary, followed by a loss to the second-ranked California Baptist. And the Lady Buffs ended the weekend well with a win over Augustana. Up next, both men's and women's teams will be at home this weekend. The Lady Buffs will host an exhibition game against Wayland Baptist on Saturday at 3 o'clock. On the men's side, they will host the LSC RMAC Challenge, where first they will see the number 15 ranked Fort Lewis on Friday. And then on Saturday, the Buffs will see New Mexico Highlands. Where two seasons started, two seasons ended up ending. Both men's and women's soccer ended up losing in their conference tournaments and were not able to reach the NCAA playoffs. Men's soccer in the Heartland tournament, of course, last Tuesday had their win over Eastern New Mexico. And then on this last weekend, they saw St. Edwards once again, where they ended up losing 1-2.
You know, soccer's a brutal game sometimes, and like I've said before, you know, sometimes you can dominate and lose, and you can get dominated and win. And you know, it was a pretty even game back and forth. And you know, really proud. First of all, really proud of our kids and the way they fought and played hard. And you know, and just one of those things when ball landed with the right player at the right time, and you know, scores a great goal with 25 seconds left, and you know, at that point there's no recovery time, you know, to try to fix it or whatever. So just disappointed on how it happened, but really great overall with the season that the kids had, and having a chance to, you know, get as far as we did. We'd like to go further, obviously, but you know, we feel that you know, we've laid a new foundation and got, you know, things going back in the right direction, and we're excited about next year already and started to work on that today, actually.
And on the Lady Buffs side, the Lady Buffs took a trip to Texas A&M Commerce, where they saw Midwestern State in the first round of the Lone Star Conference playoff, where they lost 1-0. Lady Buff volleyball going 2-1 through the past week. First on Friday, they hosted two games. First game on Friday, they saw St. Edwards, where they ended up getting a 3-0 sweep, followed by a 4-set loss to Texas A&M Kingsville later that night.
Against Kingsville, this is literally why our record is the way it is. Something's holding us back. I don't know what it is. Some of it's youth, a lot of it's youth, which creates the lack of toughness, which creates the lack of just that extra knowing how to do it, you know. But against Kingsville, we had the lead in the first two sets towards the end, and they called a timeout, and then they scored at the end. They did their part. If you go back, we literally had an opportunity to convert, and something always messed up, you know what I mean? And so you give credit where credit's due. They're a very good team, just like this teams we have this weekend. But the reality is every coach knows it doesn't matter who's on the other side when you have an opportunity.
And last night, Lady Buffs showed up big time as they took a big 3-0 sweep over UT Permian Basin. Up next, the Lady Buffs will host their final two games of the season here at home. First, they will see Texas Women's on Friday, which will also be senior night, followed by Texas A&M Commerce on Saturday. The Buffs football team battled more than just Angelo State on Saturday, where they ended up losing 28-6 through the wet and rainy night.
The whole thing for us going into the game, and I talked to the guys about it yesterday, I probably should have talked to them a little bit more about what the weather was going to be like towards the end, because I really knew that once we got probably about halfway in the second quarter, the weather wasn't going to be really good. And so my whole mission early, the first two possessions, was try to get up by 2 scores, you know. And so we have a couple of early balls that, you know, if we pull them in and do some things with them, because we got the right coverages and we got what we wanted, we just didn't execute the play the right way. We just didn't finish the play. Then all of a sudden it's a 14-0 ball game us, and then it totally changes, because I knew going in it wasn't going to be a yardage or anything like that. It was going to be a time of possession. And I knew once Angelo got up by the 2 scores, then it was going to be slow the clock down, run the play clock down as low as you can. And that was the key. But even in the third quarter, we had the wind. And so then we blocked the kick, we blocked the punt, we get a holding penalty, backs us up. We did have a shot there to get up, get 14-7 and try to cut the lead in half, and we just never were able to do it.
The Buffs have one more game left on the season where they will go to Western New Mexico on this Saturday.
Well, they got a really good quarterback. Their quarterback's playing really well, and if you go back and you really, they're one of those teams that have been in every game. They had Tarleton on the ropes, they had Kingsville on the ropes last weekend, they had Commerce almost beat. They had Commerce beat. They returned a fumble, got back, and had a chance to win the game at the end, and threw an interception right at the end. Had beat Angelo State. So you're talking about a football team that's real opportunistic. It's a tough place to go play. It's kind of like probably playing at Panhandle State. We'll talk to our guys about that a little bit. It's remote. It's hard to get to. Weather could always be an interest. On top of a mountain, you're about 6,000 feet. So altitude is going to be a little bit different for our guys. We haven't been running in condition as much. Just because of late in the season. So hopefully we're in good enough shape to play at that altitude. I'm a little concerned about that. But other than that, I think it's more that they're just real consistent offensively. And then you look at their defensive, their back end is a bunch of junior college and Division I transfer guys that got good speed and good ball skills. So it's a team that's way underrated. If they catch a couple balls and do some things a little bit different, they're right in the hunt also.
Both men's and women's cross country headed to Denver this last weekend for the regional championship. The men's team ended up taking 5th place with Jeffrey Kipchumba finishing 9th individually.
Well, going up to altitude, 5,200 plus feet, 5,300, whatever it was, I knew it was going to be a challenge. And we've been preparing these guys all year for this type of battle. We knew it was going to be tough going in. We're really one of the only teams that finished in the top 10 that are coming up in elevation. And, the guys have to put in a lot of work and do, they have to face some really tough challenges throughout the season to be mentally ready to handle that kind of competition. That these teams you're facing, they live at this altitude or, even higher, 7,000, 8,000 feet, and they're coming down. And you have to be able to step on the line confident that I've done the work. I've been battle tested and that I belong here. And I've really felt like I saw a lot of that this weekend.
On the other end, the Lady Buffs ended up finishing 14th place with Nicolina Relic once again finishing first for the Lady Buffs in 17th.
Well, I saw some good things that I really feel like we can build on, and then I saw some things that were just due to experience and maturity come out through this race. And Kelly, who was our second runner at conference, had some health issues during the race and just really shut down, and so drastically affected the team score overall. But I felt like going in we were a top 8 to 10 team, and realistically I think that's still pretty accurate. So walking away with 14th due to the, with her health issues, we just got to hold our heads high and work on the things that we can work on. But I thought Caitlin had a great race. I thought Nicolina had a great race, and the rest of them did really well also. But we just got to work on some things and grow them from freshmen to maturity levels, quickly. And I'm proud of these girls. They worked hard all year. They've improved their times all years, and it's a great foundation to build on.
Jeff Kachumba, Owen Hind, and Nicolina Relic earning all region honors through the weekend, where Jeff Kachumba also being the first in program history to earn 3 all-region honors in a career. With the 5th place finish for the Buffs, they will next head to Florida on the 19th for the national meet.
Kudos to Mikey Barnett. A lot of people don't know he had a stress fracture in his shin, and he was our 5th man. He pulled it together, and it's those kinds of gutsy performances that it takes to get through this region and even give yourself a chance to the national to do well at the national meet, because there are probably 2 or 3 other teams in this region that belong there. And so I'm proud of the effort that the guys put in, and I think we have a lot more in the tank. I think we have our best race ahead of us, and we're going down to sea level now in Florida. And so I think, I think top 10 is possible. I think it's possible. It's going to take a great effort and execution of the game plan, and but I think it's possible.
And also, lastly, big congratulations to Darren Flowers of men's cross country and Chad Webb of women's soccer for earning Conference Coach of the Year awards. Thank you for joining us this week on Heard That. Remember to keep up with all your favorite Buff and Lady Buff sports on GoBuffsGo.com, and come back here every Wednesday for Heard That. For the WT Sports Network here on GoBuffsGo.com, I'm Zach Barnes, and we'll see you next time.